What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of 30 NSG. On today's show, we're going to be talking about a Spider-Man, the great web trailer leaked online. We're going to have a conversation about live service games. Imagine that in a day and age where we talk about live service games. We're going to talk about Sea of Thieves pre-orders beating lots of other games on PlayStation 5. We're going to talk about the article that we talked about yesterday about Peter Moore. Peter Moore was the Xbox, a CEO. And then yesterday you guys asked me to talk about the Shawn Layden, Shawn Layden interview. It's another long article, so we'll take our time with this one today because I know how long it is. I didn't read it, but I scrolled through it. I was like, man, this is another long one. And then we're going to talk about the Skull and Bones that we didn't get to talk about yesterday. About Skull and Bones, looks like it's doing worse than Suicide Squad. This is what we do Monday through Thursday. We talk about news stories, have conversations with you guys in chat live. If you guys like what we do here, please make sure you hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed. And on top of that, if you'd like to go above and beyond that, you become a member as little as $5. The membership gets you a couple of, emotes and stuff inside the chat. It also gets you into our Discord. I'm very active in our Discord. I talk all the time in our Discord. So Discord is free for everybody to join for the general chat and a couple of other things. But for the majority of it, it's locked behind the membership of this channel. So if you like that type of stuff, come on over and be a part of our crew. Other things to get off, we have podcasts that we do on this channel. We do a podcast on Wednesday nights. I don't have a guest lined up this week, so we're not doing the 30 podcast. We also do Generation X Gaming podcast on Thursday evenings. So there's lots of different content. We also have multiple channels. We do a 30 and Still Gaming channel, which is I'm taking all the gaming stuff that we have on this live channel that we do 30 NSG. Like last night we played Sea of Thieves live, but that stuff's going to come down and move over to 30 and Still Gaming. So if you want to watch smaller bits of those live streams over just gameplay wise, those will be over on 30 and Still Gaming. We're going to do a show on Friday evenings around 10:30 p.m. Eastern time where I do the exact same type of format here with gaming, but I'm going to do it with entertainment news. We're going to have conversations about entertainment news and whatnot on Nerding with 30. So you got the gaming on 30 and Still Gaming, you got the live stuff on 30 NSG, and then you got the entertainment stuff over on Nerding with 30. So lots of stuff. One-man show. Appreciate it very much that you come out every morning and hang out with us. What's going on, chat? What's going on, Eclipse? Big Mo, Roadkill, Travis, good morning, Krebsy, Dave Rose, Eric Altern, Hot Torques, is that how you say it? Alien, what's going on? Jojo, Dolphin, good morning. How's everyone doing this morning? All right, let me see what you guys are saying. Travis says, I'm confused. Is Spider-Man Great Web what the first DLC is, or is it a canceled game? It's a canceled game, supposedly. Mo says, we can't talk about it. It's Insomniac. Kind of funny Greg said so. All right, well, then we won't talk about it. We won't talk about it. Come on, Dave. Let's see here. Pronounce Sean Moogly. A few minutes late, but it's like 30 seconds late. Yeah, I was running late, and then I wasn't running late. So that's why I said a couple of minutes, but then I'm actually early. We're on time, right? Rebsy, I'm like a London train, man. I'm constantly on time. I respect people that are on time. I hate being late, so I make sure that I'm always on time. And when I'm not going to be on time, I put it out there. That's why I said I might be a few minutes late. I'm not interested in Sea of Thieves, but dude, Grounded looks amazing. Going to get day one. Grounded's a fantastic game, Travis. Look, the people on PlayStation that don't like Xbox games and they go back and forth, it's a small minority of people that give it the actual shit. Like, people on PlayStation that are getting these games, you just have more games to play, which is good for gaming. But if it's if it got canceled, but if it's a canceled game, why does it matter? It doesn't really matter. We're having conversations of the news. We're not solving like world hunger here, House. Go on, Argus. I feel like Skull and Bones is failing at the core elements. Stupid stuff like being able to capture a gold while being attacked. Some ships are just faster. Saint, I say that the reason that Skull and Bones is about 18 months off from being a better game because of the core mechanics in that game is bad. Argus, thank you very much for becoming a member. Appreciate that. Thanks for becoming a member. Crafty Martin, 1 month member. Good afternoon. Thanks for the awesome content. Thank you very much for coming up and hanging out with us. Appreciate that. I mean, what's the news about? Are people mad it got canceled? Actually, a lot of people are mad, and this is why I'm bringing it up on our show. Because we literally just have a conversation yesterday. I said, if live service games are not bad games, okay? I said bad games that are live service are bad games, right? People give crap to Suicide Squad and Marvel's Avengers, right? Right? We'll talk about this first, right? We're going to talk about this first. People give shit to Marvel's Avengers and Suicide Squad because they made those games live service, and like people didn't ask for it. No one wanted a live service game. Nobody asked for a Spider-Man live service game, right? People just wanted their single-player Spider-Man games, okay? Now, we know about the leaks that happened back in December for Insomniac. Was it in December already, or was it January? Okay. So yesterday I said, anyone that enjoys a game would like more of a live service game. If they're enjoying the game, they would like more of that live service where they're constantly giving updates and stuff, right? So here's the internet. And when we talk about here, I don't want to say specific people. I'm just saying the internet as a whole, right? This is what we all see. Like, if it's the minority, but it's the loudest voices, and we see it across the media on YouTube channels, everyone hated Marvel's Avengers because it was a live service game that nobody asked for, okay? Stupid, doesn't need to be live service. Why are people making it live service? Then we got Suicide Squad, and people on Suicide Squad were upset because Suicide Squad was a live service game. It's a comic book live service game. And then here we are, just a couple of months after, and then Spider-Man the Great Web, okay? Spider-Man the Great Web trailer leaked online, okay? Now, following the gargantuan Insomniac leak, the company hard a couple of months ago, okay, it's still being pulled at revealing new in-development and canceled products and concept most recently used stumble upon a trailer for a canceled multiplayer game for Spider-Man the Great Web. It promptly leaked it online. It was supposed to be a 5-person multiplayer game built on live service foundation, but it was struck down by Sony, as revealed by Insomniac leak in the leaked trailer for Great Web, which looks incredibly polished, and we get a glimpse of what the product might look like. Okay, it says in the short trailer that was leaked online, Spider-Man the Great Web is exposed in full with the video showcasing incredible multiplayer elements that also would have pit 5 players against the Sinister Six in New York City. It would also have been built around the multiverse model, which was supposedly busted open by Scarlet Witch, and would also have the character customization options, leading to a diverse array of superheroes coming together to fight a big bad guys. Now, here's the dialogue from the trailer. It says, New York City, nothing in the whole world, and I wouldn't do for the big, beautiful apple. One moment is sacrificed down the slice of Vinny's the next, stopping a supervillain's prison break. Sometimes we can swing in a lone wolf, but you're also way better off with friends. And some of the Sinister Six before, but never methodical of Savage. Okay, I don't think there's going to be enough this time, guys, but together it might be. Okay, so months ago, a series of images leaked of a Great Web, but it's the first time we've actually seen a trailer surface. It's narrated by the voice actor of Peter Parker, and it also looks rated for market. It generally appears the trailer for the product could have been released days after it was revealed. It's bizarre, heartbreaking for Spider-Man fans the world over, and the product won't see the light of day. Okay, so I'm not sure if I should show the trailer because they might knock me down or whatnot, so I'm not going to do the trailer, so you guys can go look at the trailer on your own. But it does. It looks super polished. It looks like a game. It looks like a DLC or an added piece of content that would be, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they did, like, a Ghost of Tsushima type of thing, where, like, Spider-Man was out, and then all of a sudden they were releasing the Spider-Man, the Great Web part of Spider-Man 2. I mean, that's how polished it looks. It looks like it's ready to go, okay? But I find it funny that the internet hates live service games, right? They hate Marvel's Avengers, they hate Suicide Squad, but people on the internet for this, they're like, dude, I can't believe Sony canceled this. I can't believe it. Give me the live service. And this goes back to the conversation yesterday. If people like the IP, they're going to want more live service because it's just better for the people that are fans of those games. Okay? If you weren't a fan of Marvel's Avengers, then you hated Marvel's Avengers. If you're not a fan of Suicide Squad or DC, then you didn't like the game. If you didn't like Spider-Man, then you didn't really care there was going to be an online Spider-Man. Now, a couple months ago, actually more, maybe a year ago, feels like months ago, I actually said when they first brought up all the live service games that Sony was working on, I said, I hope they're not doing a live service game for all their IPs as far as in bringing the quality down. Now, I'm not saying this tainted as Spider-Man 2 in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, the trailer looks phenomenal for the web, for the great web. But I said in the past, I said, I hope they're not just doing like a Last of Us and then doing a multiplayer. I hope they weren't doing a Spider-Man or God of War with the multiplayer. I said, because then it would start to hurt the single-player aspect of those games. Since that time, they went from 12 live service games down to 6 live service games. They're still working on 12, or they were, okay? They were just doing the 6 in the next, like, 3 years. But now they've canceled a couple, like the Factions is canceled. There was another one canceled, and now this one is canceled. Look, I don't even have Spider-Man 2, and I would be interested in Spider-Man, the Great Web, right? I had fun with Marvel's Avengers. I'm having fun with Suicide Squad. I would have fun with Spider-Man, the Great Web. If anything, okay, this would just show that if people are making great games and then they also make a live service game, now people say that Spider-Man 2 in some way, not because of it was woke in any way, shape, or form, they say it wasn't as good as the first one. Now, I haven't played Spider-Man 2, so I can't tell you if it was better or worse. It's subjective either way, but if it was worse in some way, shape, or form, was it worse because they were also working on their great web alongside, and did they have to remove, putting effort into the main campaign of Spider-Man 2 to break off to do this, the great web? I don't know. This is for you to decide if you think. Now, obviously, they've canceled the game. It's not coming out. I kind of think it's kind of delayed, and it would make much more sense because you guys know where I come from. I come from a film background. I always think they come out with certain games or certain periods of time to advertise for other things. Well, the Spider-Verse came out last year. Very successful, very, very impactful for Sony in the movie industry, okay, for the animated series, for the sequel. And there's a part 3 coming out. Now, I don't know if this is canceled, or if this is canceled now and put on the back burner until that movie comes out. Because the multiverse over there is still happening. And they like to do cross-promotion. Sony's very good at cross-promotion. Hell, they're doing it right now with Destiny 2 when they're bringing Ghostbusters cosmetics into Destiny 2, okay? So they like doing these cross-promotions. Now, obviously, there's no Spider-Man films coming out right now, okay? Spider-Man Multiverse came out years before. The cartoon came out last year, and they kind of put it, I think, on the back burner, maybe waiting for something to go down the road and maybe to polish it more. Now, it does say canceled, but anything's canceled and not canceled based on the people that want to do it, right? If someone tells you, nah, we canceled the game, and then they change their mind, they're allowed to do that. They're the business that actually made the thing. Now, obviously, if we didn't know about this because it's leaked, okay, we wouldn't know it was canceled. We wouldn't even know it was made, right? It would just be in the background and them working on it, trying to figure out what's good, what's bad. Should we release it now? Should we release it later? And the trailer is so polished, it does just look like it's part of the game. I would say it was, again, just saying that it was cut content that they put in, right? Like, I think it was supposed to be that Ghost of Tsushima moment for Spider-Man 2 where they were just going to add it in after the fact. I have no proof of that, but it's so polished looking. I was like, man, this makes sense, like a 5-player co-op type of thing. I think that's cool. Now, do I think it's completely canceled? I don't. I think they kind of put it on the back burner, waiting for a little bit to see what happens with the industry and where it's going. Now, obviously, it could have been canceled before Helldivers came out. Helldivers is a live service game for them, and Sony is making boatloads of cash from it, releasing it on PC at the exact same time. Live service games happen to be doing well. Now, Foam Stars, not so much. We haven't heard a lot about Foam Stars, but Helldivers is doing very well. If this was their next live service, ambitious part of making a 5-player co-op Spider-Man game, then maybe they're just holding it back. Maybe they're just going to wait for the other movie and do cross-promotion, because if people watch that movie, see other characters of Spider-Man coming through portals and stuff like that, those people might want to play a game in that same type of format. But these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. What do you think of Spider-Man the Great Web? Do you think that this is done? It's not coming out ever like Factions is? Or do you think they kind of just put it on the back burner to wait and see what's happening in the future with their live service aspects? Because, again, the game almost looks completely done based on the trailer. Now, they could have been 6 months off or whatever. Again, it's a leaked document and leaked information and leaked trailer, but it does seem like it's a complete game. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know in the live chat. And if you like what we do here, please make sure you share, like, subscribe, check out some of our other videos, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. All right, let's see. Avengers set a bad precedent for Suicide Squad. People gained the bad perception of bad live service superhero games now because of that. Absolutely, Jason. Marvel did damage to video games as The Last Jedi did for Star Wars movies, right? When Last Jedi came out, it ruined Solo. It ruined other franchises that they were coming out with Star Wars. That's what Marvel's Avengers did. It ruined Guardians of the Galaxy. It ruined the next superhero game to come out. It's done long-term damage for live service superhero games. Reduce it to 2 or 3 co-op mode, and I'm in. It's just an IP. People also know Insomniac, but put out quality games. Sure, Rose, but they also, the people that defend that people that make single-player games should make multiplayer games. Well, they're making a multiplayer game now, right? So is the quality still going to be as good? Now, I would say yes, but obviously they canceled the game. So does that mean the quality was up to par? Maybe it just didn't have depth to it. You know what I mean? Maybe Bungie told them it wouldn't retain players. Perhaps. What's going on, Lurker? The internet hates full stop. Got a product? The internet hates it. What's the product? Doesn't matter. The internet hates it. The internet actually likes this. This is which is funny, Lurker. If you go to Twitter, Twitter's blowing up right now. People are like, I can't believe bad move by Sony not releasing this. Which is funny because the same group would also be mad because of Marvel's Avengers was crap or Suicide Squad was crap. But because they like Spider-Man, they like it. They're like, I can't believe you didn't release this. Jason says story is way worse. Dave Rose says it's hard to beat the first game's story, but everything else like gameplay and mechanics I thought were better. Eclipse says it's just the same thing. I wouldn't say it's worse. It's just not worth $70. I felt like I played in 2016 or whatever the first came out. 2018 is when it first came out. Let's see here. Everybody says, or maybe Sony didn't want to bog down Insomniac with the live service, decided to make the Great Web into a DLC or something into Spider-Man 2 or 3 Venom game. Perhaps, Krebsy. I just can't imagine. And again, I've talked about this in the past. Movies get made, okay, completely done, and they get scrapped and just get put on a shelf, never be seen because it's like a tax write-off type of thing, right? Games happen that way as well. In this day and age, we're getting a lot more leaks and things that we wouldn't be privy to see, right? So it's interesting to see how we see this now. We're like, well, I don't think it's canceled. I think they're just putting it on the shelf for a bit to see. Now, obviously, it could get canceled. It's canceled right now, but it's canceled because we weren't supposed to see it. KOTOR's been canceled and not canceled like 12 times. Right. Damn it, Dirty. All this talk of Tsushima, I want to play it now. So go play it. Let's see here. I think it's done. I feel like the majority of those skins are placeholders. What do you mean, Clark? Are you saying that the Great Web trailer, you think that was just implemented skins on top of already gameplay? Is that what you're saying? I don't. Spider-Gwen even has the same animations as Peter. But what type of stuff would she have? They're all Spider-Men. Spider people. The Great Web would also be an amazing update to market PlayStation 5 Pro and Spider-Man 2. True. I just think that if they're polishing it, if it's still working in the background, it's canceled to us because they just kind of want to just, don't worry about that. We're not working on that type of thing. Like these are not the live service games you're looking for type of thing, right? They could polish it and make it a good premise, right? Again, live service is not bad. just bad games that are live service are bad, right? I think they could do some good things with this. And I think if they waited for the movie to come out, the third part, which comes out in what, 2026? The Fallen of the 11 says, I have to agree with you. I think the game isn't canceled. The trailer seems to be like 90% done. It's possible that the Great Web maybe got brought back into production. That's what I'm thinking, right? Again, it's canceled because we know now it exists. But if we didn't know, then it would just sit in the background and they would just keep working on it. This is why Insomniac is a great studio. This game also would have been day one for me. Jax, I don't know if it would be a day one for me just because I don't own a PlayStation. But if they released it on PC at the exact day and date, especially since it's multiplayer, and it would be a live service game, if they released this on PC, I would be okay with it. They absolutely need to make a Spider-Verse game. It would easily be portals and lead to completely different environments. Think about this. It makes sense that this game exists, right? Insomniac made Ratchet and Clank The Rift Apart. Think about this. They made the game Ratchet and Clank The Rift Apart where we go through portals into different spaces instantaneously. Now you're making Spider-Man, same company. They have portals, and then you would go right through the portal into the next thing. Like, it makes sense, right? So, but here's the funny part. What game is doing a multiverse where you go through portals and people think it's repetitive and boring? I can't think of the name. What is that game that's doing portals and stuff right now to different universes? I don't know. Because as a trailer editor myself, I could tell you that it wouldn't waste the time of resources and trailer for the game if it isn't going to release, especially when the game got canceled during production. Right, that trailer is that's a done game. That's basically the way that trailer's done and cut. That was coming out at the next like state of play. That's how good and polished it looks. Would also explain why they still haven't heard anything officially of the DLC-wise of Spider-Man 2. Maybe they're all diverting resources to Great Web. Perhaps. Let's hope that X-Men multiplayer game comes out with the awesome. That'll also be fine with Gambit in it. They'll be super happy. Argus says, I guess they could also just give their more legit movements and animations for more female or feminine body movements that lines up with female skeletal muscular structure and how they move the standard differently. I just think that the way she moves exactly like they all move, right? Like Miles Morales still has the same type of moveset. Yes, it does look a little different and gives it is more keen to what Miles Morales is compared to what Peter does. But we haven't seen Gwen in the game, at least that I know of, because I don't remember her or being talked about in Spider-Man 2. But we haven't seen her in this form, so we don't really know what her movesets and animations look like, right? Would Insomniac have the staff to support the game as far as content for the game? I don't know. You would have to assume that they're using the same assets and everything across the board. So how much more work is it? Helldivers 2 update isn't too bad. Enjoying it. One of the downsides is the teammates leaves. There will be occasionally you will also go back to the ship for the game will crash. Well, that's pretty bad. Maybe they leaked it was done intentionally. The test of waters after the huge backlash and flop of Suicide Squad. Perhaps 11. And I would also, that'd be plausible. Me and Sarge on GXG always talk about leaks. There's no such thing as a leak, right? Most of the stuff is intentionally leaked to feel the water, feel what's going on, right? So who knows? Perhaps. So I can imagine maybe they put the leak out there and test it. That way, it's probably too expensive to make. Probably be better if they made the comic book form and cut back costs. Too expensive to make the Great Web. I would think the cost of that is much cheaper, right? Here's the thing. How do we know as just the public? How do we know the Great Web is not part of Spider-Man 2's budget of $310 million? Do you know what I mean? Well, Spider-Man 2's budget was $300 million, and it's also very clear that the Great Web was using the base that the game is infrastructure for Spider-Man 2. But that's what I was just saying, right? How do we know that 300 million is not, right? How do we know that the Great Web's not part of that? And that's why it's so expensive. Because the first game went from 180 million to 300. Do you know what I mean? Keep in mind, the comment is that without me having seen any trailer, I would think it's common sense that Peter, Miles, and Gwen have different moveset animations as far as flips and quick move. She's in the trailer for a few seconds, okay? And it does look like Gwen. Now, as far as I'm not a Spider-Man aficionado here when it comes to the game and the moveset. I'll have to take the word of it's the same animation style, right? The Great Web wouldn't cost anywhere near as much as Spider-Man 2 did, since they're reusing the engine. Yeah, they're reusing everything. And they're bringing the technology in of those, because you see the portals pop open, and then they fall through the portal. It makes sense that Insomniac has the technology from what they did for Ratchet and Clank. They already have the assets and stuff from Spider-Man and whatnot, so they're reusing everything they've already created. I'm gonna say 1,000% that this game is not canceled, okay? And we will see this again down the line. I just have a feeling there's no way, for what I saw, especially since Spider-Man is their biggest selling game of all time. YouTube Lurker, thank you very much for the 10 gifted memberships. Thank you very much for the continued support, man. Appreciate that very much. Thanks for becoming a member. Would also explain why we saw the multiverse portal. I didn't play the game, so I don't... Spoiler. No, I'm just kidding. But I didn't play the game, so I don't know about that stuff. Let's say the Great Web was a standalone live service. Sony said that live service titles would be PC and PlayStation 5 at launch. This applies to right now. Sony could day and date single player in the future. I think that this was supposed to be an add-on like Ghost of Tsushima. Like Factions, right? Factions was supposed to be an add-on, and then it got pushed, and then it was going to be a standalone game, and then it got canceled. I think, look, people think that we're owed something as customers, okay? Like, we're supposed to be in the know of what's happening with these companies, and if they tell us something or don't tell us something, that we're supposed to be like, oh, like we can sue or something. No, they can say and do what they want. They make product, we buy product. If you don't like that product, you don't buy that product, okay? When things get leaked, okay, all rules are out the window. Just because you know about a product doesn't mean they owe it to you to release it, though. You know what I'm saying? We have this like weird thing where, as consumers, and I hate that fucking word, I do. As customers, okay, we pay for what we see. Now, this is not official, right? This is a leaked thing that got released, and now it's officially that it was made, but we don't know more about it. But yet people want, like, well, they have to give this to us. They have to give us Spider, right? That would print money. I think it might be waiting until they come out with the PC, and they also have a reason to put both on them on PC. I just think it's going to be on the Venom game, and then leaked and coming in next year. Perhaps. This just seems like a good filler to fill in. I think, again, the person that got their hands on this, that leaked this stuff, I think that the game's still going to come out and it's going to be reworked in some way, shape, or form. Maybe the live service stuff just didn't hit the mark, and they're like, you know what, let's hold off. Again, the trailer looks super polished. I see a lot of videos online, people claiming that live service is dying. I think they're in denial. It's not dying at all. Far from it. Yeah, no. Yeah. Maybe it gets a full Venom game, so it's justified a full price game. Perhaps. Or they just release it. Maybe it's an add-on to Spider-Man. And then they just make the money off of the microtransactions. What about this? Not saying they're doing this, but what about if they just put this on PlayStation Plus? What about this was a PlayStation Plus game? Right? How many people would go over to PlayStation Plus to play it? Waiting for PC to release on Spider-Man 2 would actually be a smart move. You'll hear about it when they're ready to talk about it. And not own shit gamers are so entitled. Right, Rose. Live service will be dying. Since the industry is contracting live service has a high risk and cost, but live service is isn't going away. Yeah, no. Live service games are much cheaper to make. And they make a shit ton more money off of those things, based on the cost of that they put into it and what they can make out of it. Travis says people are just whining. Like, I mean, look at it, and yes, I use myself. I went to a movie 4 days ago, saw all but the last 5 minutes where I was also power outraged and said I wanted my money back. Well, technically, if the power went out in the theater, they should give you your money back or free tickets so you could enjoy the movie. I mean, they should. I hope they did that. I used to be a manager at a movie theater, and I would have given you free tickets to come back to another movie. I don't care if there's 5 minutes left or 30 seconds. Gave me a line of credit. Yeah. That's not the same though, Travis, in your example though. Like, you paid for a product, and if you didn't get to finish that product, like, you pay for a 2 hour and a half, whatever experience. If you didn't get that, then yes, you could bitch and whine about that. Just like people can bitch and whine if a game comes out and it's broken, buggy. There's a difference between entitled and wanting a product to work. There's a difference, right? You asking for a feature in the game is different than asking for the game to work. I think they should have this in the game, and they should have that in the game. That's entitlement. Asking for a game to be working in order so you can actually play it and asking for your money back, that's different. It was leaked for Spider-Man 3 that it could be split into 2 parts. Maybe they changed the Great Web into part 2 of Spider-Man 2. Perhaps. I mean, the whole slogan for Spider-Man 2 is to be better together. Remember when we had the conversations where I was like, oh, maybe it'll be co-op. Everyone's like, nah, they're not making a co-op game. Huh? That aged like spoiled milk. I was like, maybe it'll make a co-op game. Paying for the product not working as it should is not the same as expecting them to give you something that haven't offered you. No good reason complied to offer. Right. That's what I'm saying, Argus. Like, if you're asking for something to be finished and working is different than saying that, well, they should have done this, they should have done that. That's entitlement, right? That's not entitlement for, yeah, the game is broke, I can't play it, or it's missing features and I have to wait 18 months for it to come in. All right. Reality is that people love to call things dead when it's not finished. Yet the Suicide Squad hasn't even had their first major update. It's not dead. Well, that's a completely different, right, Travis? People are like, well, it sucks the live service. Well, yeah, because they haven't added the live service yet. Suicide Squad is so bad. Did you see the battle pass? It's terrible. It's like, oh, the battle pass is not in the game yet, so I don't know how you can say that. Now, those people might be 100% correct that the battle pass might be terrible, but at the same time, not out yet, so you can't say one way or the other. Well, there's a lot of games like that, Eclipse, where it's not co-op, but you play it together, even though, like Skyrim. Skyrim back in the day or Fallout, that's the same way we played it. I was like, oh, man, I wish this was co-op. So me and Sarge would play Fallout together, but not together. We're just playing at the same time and then be on voice chat talking. Oh, did you go over here? Do you know what I mean? It's almost like playing No Man's Sky when it came out where there was no multiplayer. Are you here? I'm here. I'm next to the tree. Oh, so am I. I don't see you. And then you see the little orb. Same with Fable. Sega does that with Nintendo don't. That was a great marketing campaign back in the day, Ron. Funny enough, even on console, they have a mod for multiplayer co-op in Skyrim now. Yeah. The worst part about Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 and Skyrim is that it's not co-op. Hence why I do like Fallout 76. And this is why Sarge will never, at least I don't think he'll ever play it. Maybe he will down the road. Sarge would love Fallout 76. But because Fallout 76 was a broken, buggy, shitty piece of game when it came out, he will never touch it. Right? And which is heartbreaking because he's a huge Fallout fan. Right? And we used to always complain that, man, Fallout's so good. If it was just co-op, if we could just play it co-op, okay? And Fallout 76 is co-op, but he won't play it because of what Bethesda did to it. The survival elements are not that bad when you get to a certain point. Jason, I'll say this, right? The Rocksteady's problems is the servers. The game itself is not broken buggy. You know what I mean? Like, the game is broke because of the servers, right? It's broke because of the servers. But the game itself is not broke or buggy. You know what I mean? It's got a couple itches here and there, but the game itself is a well put together game. Well, since you guys are talking about... I was going to talk about Skull and Bones, but we'll talk about... Since you guys are talking about Elden Ring. Shadow says, this is why not a fan of always online single player. Yeah, well, we said when the game came out, Shadow, if you're talking about Suicide Squad, when the game first got announced, there's two things that I cringed about a little bit, right? One is when they said it was always online, I was like, ooh. Like, and then they said the magic words where, and all content's free. I was like, ugh. Like, oh, man. That was the killing blow for a lot of people. Always online, and then the free content, right? I would have been more than happy to not have it always online, played single player, and pay for DLC when it comes out. 100%. I would have paid for these Scarecrow story missions and added to the game. I would have paid for the Two-Face story mission and added to the game. They should have got that single player offline mode in that game before the game launched. And we wouldn't have this problem right now. You would still have people complain that you can't play with your friends and whatnot, but people could still play by themselves, and they would be okay with that. Jason, having a conversation about Travis about Elden Ring is like, you might as well just stop, find the nearest wall, right? Because you're never going to change that wall's opinion on whatever it believes, and it doesn't believe anything because it's a wall, right? Travis hates Elden Ring. You're never going to like have a conversation where you can change his mind that it's not. He's been here a year, and he talks about Elden Ring, or used to talk about Elden Ring every single day for about 6 months. It's time to get Call of Duty MMO with lots of microtransactions, loot boxes. I mean, isn't that what Warzone is, Ron? Isn't Call of Duty an MMO, basically, with lots of microtransactions? All right. Let's talk about Sea of Thieves. Pre-orders on PlayStation are beating out Elden Ring DLC, which I think is kind of funny. I mean, I know they're using Elden Ring because Elden Ring is like a hugely popular game. It was Game of the Year and whatnot, and this is the DLC for it. But I hate this. Like the other day, I mean, hell, Skull and Bones. We're going to be talking about that. Skull and Bones is doing better than Suicide Squad. It's like, why do you have to pick that game to make a comparison of and just talk about how, like, if you remove Elden Ring DLC in this title and just put Sea of Thieves pre-orders are top of PlayStation, right? Or beating out all other games on PlayStation. You know what I mean? So is every BR an MMO? They're like a light MMO. Yeah, it's like a Fallout 76. Yeah, I would say yeah. It's a new form of massive multiplayer, 100 people on a game. I would say it's a little bit. I'm not saying it's an MMO, but it's got the likes of living in that world for that short period of time or whatever it is. So Sea of Thieves pre-orders on PlayStation are beating out Elden Ring DLC and everything else as well, right? It says Sea of Thieves is ahead of PlayStation 5 on April 30th, and the game is currently sitting near the top of the U.S. pre-order charts for the platform. Now, the premium edition of Sea of Thieves is one of the best-selling pre-orders currently, beating other games like the upcoming Elden Ring Shadows of Errantry expansion, okay? Now, the game's standard edition, also high on the list, is also the 7th most pre-ordered PlayStation Store, according to Benji Sales, who before MLB The Show 24 surpassed its position. Now, you can see here, okay, you got MLB The 24, you got Dogma, you got Sea of Thieves, you got like, why doesn't it say Star Wars Battlefront Collection is higher than Elden Ring? Where's that article? Where's that article? Developer by Rare, Sea of Thieves is coming to PlayStation 5 as a digital-only release, and it's one of the several games that Microsoft plans to release for other platforms, as Hi-Fi Rush Grounded will also be coming to PlayStation and Switch. Pentiment, Obsidian Games, also Stories of Parchment, was the first title to be released on the new platforms outside of Xbox Series and PC this year. Now, the new features for PlayStation 5 edition of Sea of Thieves include cross-play support, haptic feedback for the PlayStation DualSense controller, and all platforms will continue to receive simultaneously updates for Sea of Thieves. Now, Rare also teased more content for the game recently, including a new loadout weapon for the first time since the game's launch in 2018. And for more details, you can also check out GameSpot's Sea of Thieves future of the game. So, I just think it's funny, but that they run with stuff like this. Sea of Thieves is outbeating Elden Ring. I mean, MLB The Show is beating Elden Ring. So is Dragon's Dogma, The Last Ronin. Like, are they gonna write 5 different articles? Are they gonna write 5 different articles? MLB The Show beating Elden Ring out. The Last Ronin beating Elden Ring out. Dragon's Dogma 2 beating Elden Ring out. I just think it's funny. Thank you. The Rise of Ronin. Sorry, The Last Ronin's Teenage Mutant Turtles. My bad. But that's why I picked this article, right? I like to point out the clickbait articles. Okay, I like to pick out the clickbait articles because it's stupid, right? You could literally not write this title and just say top of the charts on PlayStation 5, Sea of Thieves, or Xbox topping PlayStation, right? You could have done that. That would have been another title that you could have done. Best pre-order game is an Xbox game. People are still butthurt that Elden Ring winning game of the year. Oh, yeah, for sure. So now let's go to the Skull and Bones one. Skull and Bones one. This is made by Paul Tassi. He says, this was supposed to be on yesterday's show. I want to make sure I get it through it today. Okay. If you guys like my content, we just read through articles. I haven't read through the articles. I literally read them for the first time. Sometimes it's painful. Like yesterday's long-ass. We have a long-ass one coming up with interviews. So we're going to try to break it down a little bit more and not just constantly read and read and read. But I don't read through the articles. I'm reading it for the first time. Good, bad, very. But that's what we do. Monday through Thursday, 10 o'clock in the morning to noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member. All right, so Skull and Bones looks like it's doing worse than Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Okay. Now, I would have liked to see a little bit more positive spin on this for Suicide Squad. Okay. As Vandal said yesterday, I have a hate boner for suicides or people that hate on Suicide Squad. But what about they said Suicide Squad's actually doing better than Skull and Bones? That would have been a positive for Suicide Squad for just the small minute that it is. Instead of Skull and Bones looks like it's doing worse than Suicide Squad because Suicide Squad is bad, but Skull and Bones is worse, right? That's what it... Okay. So it says this year, there are two major AAA games that are being used as examples to talk about overinvestment in live service, resulting in large-scale bombs. Ubisoft Skull and Bones and WB Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, but now one appears to be performing worse than the other, according to the data that we have available. It appears that even that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League launched poorly, Skull and Bones might be doing even worse. Hey, there's a positive spin for Suicide Squad. Okay. While Skull and Bones is briefly inside PlayStation's top 10 most played games at launch, it quickly fell. That much worse than Suicide Squad, which is at least debuted at number 1 on PlayStation when it released and slowly sunk down the list rather immediately falling off. Now, additionally, February sales data shows that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is the third highest selling game of the month, behind only Helldivers 2 and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Skull and Bones, meanwhile, is behind even Grand Theft Auto debuting on the list at number 8. It's not doing much better than the EU at number 7. Okay. So, take it in. Okay. Now, on Xbox, Skull and Bones is 47th most played game right now, just a couple weeks after the debut so-called quadruple A game. One piece of data that we do not have is PC numbers, as Suicide Squad has done abysmal there, currently peaking at under 500 concurrent players some days, and Skull and Bones PC data is only known for Ubisoft. But given that the rest of it, is it hard to imagine it's doing well. What happened? I mean, it says, well, I mean, it's obvious that, like Suicide Squad, Skull and Bones launched as a live service game that demanded $70 up front, a cost that Ubisoft said justified by the amount of content in it. But most players disagree. It also appears to be a game simply no one asked for. When we talk about what we've asked for, like right now, what are you guys asking for? I know what I ask for in games. I know what I asked for. I'm not asking for said company to give me said game. I'm asking said company to give me complete, finished, non-broken, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just want a working game. Make a game, sell a game. I've never asked for, this is not the game I'm asked for. That just sounds so ridiculous, right? I'm just asking for a game to work, right? Can you imagine CD Projekt Red, like you loved Witcher 3 so bad. Okay, you just loved it. But they came out with Cyberpunk 2077. You're like, this is not the game I asked for. This is not the game I wanted. I wanted Witcher 4. It's like, is when you like a company, right? You just like the games they created because they make a game. They decide to make a separate, different game. Okay? A brand new IP they came out with. They made Cyberpunk 2077. Now, you can say what you want about Cyberpunk 2077 being broke, buggy, unfinished, but they still made something different than what they were known for ahead of time. Witcher 2, Witcher 3, okay? Now you go to the other side for Rocksteady. Now you go to the other side for Ubisoft. Ubisoft makes a ton of games, right? They make a ton of games, okay? But Rocksteady didn't make the Batman game. right? Didn't make the Batman game. And then you have Assassin's Creed or Ubisoft, right? Well, they didn't make the next Black Flag game that we asked for. Who gives a shit what you're asking for, right? They're making a game that they wanted to make. Now, there's a difference is they made games that weren't complete games. Skull and Bones is not a complete game. I gave you my 4.5 hour thoughts on the game. I said that game needs another 12 to 18 months to be finished. Okay, I said save your money. It's a fun game, but you need to wait for it to be complete. I said this was Battlefield 2042. I said this was Cyberpunk 2077. Okay, and these are all proven facts now. Battlefield 2042 is a much better game 22 months later. Okay, Cyberpunk 2077 is a much better game 3 years later. Okay, Skull and Bones will be a much better game 2 years later if it makes it that long. Okay, same with Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad's been out for a month and a half. Okay, it'll be a better game down the road once they have all the content that they have in the game. Okay, so without question, the biggest thing that sinking Skull and Bones is the most played simply did not want live service pirate game where you play as a ship rather than a pirate, which is baffling given that AC Black Flag inspired the game in the first place and feels like Sea of Thieves, now 6 years old, does everything better than Skull and Bones minus its graphics. Well, that statement right there, Sea of Thieves, when it came out, wasn't a complete game. It's a much better game 6 years now. So comparing a 6-year-old pirate game to a pirate game that just came out is completely different. Okay? Minus the graphics. No, minus that when Sea of Thieves came out, and I play tested it for 2 years before it came out. So technically it's been out for 8 years. Okay? Been around for 8 years. 2 years behind the scenes, 6 years in front. Okay? And it's a much better game now 6 years later. Because that's what live service games are. Fallout 76 is a much better game 5 years later. Okay? So, at launch, it proven those suspicions correct. And it didn't get any help with the critics either, scoring a 60 on the Metacritic, and the exact same thing for Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad also had a much better user score. This isn't to say that Suicide Squad isn't doing well. It definitely is not, ahead of its first delayed Joker season. Wait, delayed? How is the Joker season delayed? They said it was coming out in March. It's coming out in March. How is it delayed? Coming at the end of this month. But it's doing a lot better than Skull and Bones. Well, it sure seems like it. What? You see what I'm saying? Delayed. They said first month, coming out in March. When you say next month, everyone thinks the first of the month. They have all month to get it out, which they are. But hey. So, the problems with Skull and Bones, right? The problem with these live service AAA games is not that the live service aspect of these games is bad. The problem with Skull and Bones is at the core level. The core level of Skull and Bones has been, it was rebooted 4 times. It was delayed 7 times. Okay? They went through 3 directors for the game. There's much more problems here than the game being good or bad. Now, people could like games. I like bad games all the time. I played Marvel's Avengers. I know it's a bad game, but I also think it's a good game. Okay? It's not the best game in the world, but I enjoyed it while I played it. Suicide Squads is not a great game, but I'm having fun playing it, but I know it's not a great game. Okay? People that are delusional when they play a game and they're like, no, it's the best game, and they don't see the flaws, that's copium. Okay? I see the flaws in the games I play, and I like those games, okay? But the fundamental aspects of the game, Skull and Bones is missing core features of what that game is. Suicide Squad is not missing core features. It's missing problems with the live service aspect as far as the connectivity issues of with Suicide Squad. And then once we get to the Battle Pass, once we get to the first season and see what they're actually putting out, then we can say, well, fundamentally, the core system of this live service aspect of the game is not working well. But the game itself is not a broke, buggy game. Suicide Squad is not a Battlefield 2042. It's not a Cyberpunk 2077. Okay? It's not a Fallout 76. Okay? It's not a Skull and Bones. But yet it's tossed there because it's a live service game, it's a DC game, it's a game that nobody asked for. Skull and Bones is getting shit on not because of the core mechanics of the game, it's getting shit on because it's not Black Flag. And this is just silly, okay? Because Again, Cyberpunk didn't get, well, this is not the Witcher game we asked for. Insert sequel or new IP here, okay? Starfield, this is not the Skyrim game we asked for, right? And it's just insane to me, okay? There's a difference between a bad game and a bad live service game. There's a difference between these things. And at the core, Anthem was a bad live service game because it didn't even finish the game. The game was broke, buggy, unfinished. They didn't even have all the materials, all the end game activities in the game when the game came out. They didn't even have a whole set of gear for all the characters that they put in the game when the game came out, right? These are fundamental problems from the ground up, right? But these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. What do you think of Skull and Bones? Are you enjoying Skull and Bones? Let me know in the comment section down below. Are you enjoying Suicide Squad? Let me know in the comment section down below. Are you excited for Suicide Squad and Skull and Bones to have content? They both announced a year of content coming down of the roadmap. Let me know in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe if you like what we do here. Please check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Even I can admit that Elden Ring deserved to win, though. You guys are still talking about that. Attaching headlines to hot topics, more clicks. What would get more clicks? Solar panels in the desert. Good power. Solar panels strong. They survive. Dune. There, Travis. You're probably already gone. He said Suicide Squad is bad. Gasps. Heard around the world. But you got to take into consideration PlayStation is now offering refunds in Suicide Squad and heard a lot of people have refunds in the game. There's less people getting refunds, Rose, than the people that we talked about yesterday having problems with PlayStation deleting their entire library. Just put that in perspective. There's more people that have problems with PlayStation that are deleting their entire digital library than people that are getting refunds for Suicide Squad. Well, I wouldn't mind a pirate game done well. I have a hard time trusting Ubisoft. I mean, I asked for the game to be at least 50 hours long on gameplay for me. I didn't get that from Spider-Man 2 if I paid $70. Long John Silver's needs to make a pirate game. Yeah, and no, they should take all pirates from all parts of life, right? Like Captain Crunch, Long John Silver. He expected March 1st. Yeah, it's just silly to me. They said March. They said shortly after game comes out in March is what they said. They never gave an actual date on when it's coming out. They just said in March. It comes out March 28th, and this person writes it's delayed. Oh, man. What's going on, Ghost? Nice. The Battlefront collection moved up the 5th position to the top sellers right now, behind Dragon's Dogma. There's a silver of truth in what he said. Rocksteady does have an established audience that was expecting another Batman game, with said Rocksteady is allowed to do whatever they want. Well, there was already a set audience that CD Projekt Red with Witcher 3. Was there not? There was already a set audience for Fallout 76. Mo says, what was delayed? Oh, the Suicide Squad Season 1 was delayed. Did you know that, Mo? Ghost, I played Fallout 76 day one. Yep. I put 82 hours in, and I never had any experience, besides a little bit of hitching and glitches. I never had any problems until 82 hours in. Oh, you're saying... The way I read it, Krebsy, I read it with a different tone. With that said, Rocksteady is allowed to do. I got what you're saying. I got what you're saying. I read it with a different tone. I thought you were coming from a different aspect. My bad. Didn't they announce it called Suicide Squad like 6 years ago? It was supposed to come out the same year as Marvel's Avengers. It literally got delayed from 2020 to 2021 2023 to 2024. But it didn't get delayed because of the game. It got delayed because they were just trying to push it back for other, whatever reasons those were. I think we all didn't expect Joker would release late March. Not me. Not me, Titan. And that would become with experience, right? Anytime someone announces something and they say, oh, it's coming out next month, you never think, ever, think it's the first of the month. Never. Okay? If someone says it's coming out in 2024, you put that date on December 31st or whatever's the last Friday of that year. Okay? Because if anyone thinks that when someone announces a month and they think it's the first, that's your bad. Late March sounds like Rocksteady wasn't ready. These are just all made up stuff in your own head. They literally said shortly after launch in March is what they said. They didn't. There was no voice level. They didn't say, well, it's coming out in late March. They didn't say that. They said our first DLC is coming out in March. Did you hear that? He took a breath before he said March. Does that mean early March? Does that mean late March? No. Your expectations, people are not responsible for your expectations for something, right? You set your own expectations for things. Because they don't hit your expectations, you can't start shitting on other people because when they say March, you're like, well, it's supposed to come out March 1st. It's delayed because... I mean, let's be honest. The story in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is a bit longer, maybe 20 hours long. The hate will be less. I put in 21 hours for the story. It varies, Altern. Someone finished it in 9 hours, but they probably also went like this and clicked past all the dialogue, and they didn't really care about the story. Come on, Roadkill. I think by now you have expected delays no matter what industry it is. Right. But never. Like, from this point forward, Titan, you should never, ever come into this channel again and go, man, I was expecting early May. I was expecting early July, right? From this point forward, you should educate yourself when a company says a month, it's the last day of that month possible. That's not a weekend. I think I said, Krebsy, on a show. I think I said on a show. Let me see. I think I said the 26th is what I said. I think I said the 26th because usually I pick a Tuesday, the last Tuesday of the month. I would have to go back to one of the live streams I said it. So I remember someone saying, hey, when do you think it's coming out? I said, it'll probably come out the 26th. I always pick the last Tuesday of the month. And if it comes out sooner, win. Win. No, you didn't say early, but you said I think they all didn't respect Joker release late March. That right there is your expectations that it was coming out early March. How bad the network issues are in the game. I'm surprised first season is not coming out in April. You know what it is, Altern? A lot of people are not having that issue. I think, are you playing, first of all, are you playing Suicide Squad? And if you are playing Suicide Squad, are you playing on PC or are you playing on console? I know people are having it across multiple things, but I think it's happening mostly on PC, which is the less popular platform. Hence why the reviews are going down. I'm worried about the actual content and release date. If it's not good, the game is going to die completely. But here's the thing, House. Suicide Squad, regardless if it's dead or not, they have content that they're putting out, and inside the game, and here's why I'm holding them to what they're going to put out. And people think people in my comment section are like, I can't believe you put credit into what Miller said. He's been wrong about this, this, and this. I'm not just taking what Miller's saying as like what God said to me, and that's what it is. I'm taking what Miller said based on the data mine that he had compared to now what the game is when it's out. Now, we interviewed him before the game came out. The game came out once we were done with the campaign. The campaign said at the end there's 13 Brainiacs. 13 Brainiacs are in the game, meaning they need to give you those 13 Brainiacs. Okay? And the 13 Brainiacs are happening 2 a time throughout each season. Okay? Which makes it 6 seasons. Okay? 6 seasons, 2 each, which is 12 plus the one we had at the end of the game, which is 13. So based on what Miller said of the 20 months, based on what the game gave you at the end, when you beat the game, it shows you the 4 seasons and it shows you the 13 Brainiacs that you have to beat. That's 6 seasons. They show you there. If they do anything less than the 6 seasons, okay, then they could be sued because the game itself is telling you that, hey, this is what's coming forward, right? It's in the story. Now they can stop supporting the actual game during the process of this, and it's dead at the end of the 13 Brainiacs, okay, because they didn't make enough money. Crowded House says, didn't Anthem have some content ready to go? There's a difference between Anthem, what they said they had in the pipeline, and what this game literally is telling you. Rose says, I honestly don't think Joker comes out on the 28th. I got a strong feeling it's going to be delayed. Now, if that's the case, Rose, then the article could be written that it got delayed and got pushed back, right? 100%. But as of right now, it was never delayed. It's coming out in March. Roadkill says, I've never had an issue playing Suicide Squad. I've been on PlayStation 5, and every time I play, it's fun. Great. I can't wait till Season 1. Happening for me, but I don't know why. The content is good right now. I'm not playing it at all, but saw recent Steam reviews stating that network issues. I think the network issues are happening more on Steam than on the consoles. Hence why the reviews for the consoles are like in the 80s, and then the ones on the PC is going down to like 70, high 60s. Content should be ready. Game been delayed a year. Absolutely right, Titan. I think the reason it was delayed a year was, one, they wanted to get back on that cycle like it was for Hogwarts Legacy, right? Build up the hype. And then 2, to finish out that content so it's in the pipeline already. Hence why they announced it to you. Hence why they announced it to you in the game that there's 13 Brainiacs and they show 6 seasons. They show you the 4 seasons, but there's 6 seasons in that tab when you go and look at all the Brainiacs. Now, see, people are going to look at this and go, let's say it comes out now, right? So, for instance, Season 1 of Suicide Squad, it comes out the 28th, right? So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That means the next one comes out June 27th, okay? Or it can come out July 2nd, right? That week of July 2nd, which they kick it back one extra week and it pushes it into July. Now, there is no release date for those content. But people are already expecting, well, 12 weeks, after 12 weeks, that it's going to be June 27th. And if it's not June 27th, then it's delayed, right? Unless they give you an actual date, it's not delayed. You can't delay something that you've never announced, right? We know it's coming out, but we don't know the date of when it's coming out. Right, or it comes out when it's ready. Exactly right, Krebsy. Hence what Destiny's doing right now, where they pushed it back, right? Yeah, it doesn't happen to everyone, Dolphin. You're right, Eclipse. Yeah, it actually shows you Brainiac in the game. If they cancel this game before those 12 other Brainiacs come out, that's a problem. They'll have a major issue on their hands. So when people say dead game, and people tell me, well, the game's done after Season 4, I'm like, all right, we'll see. We'll see. They have 4 seasons. They just haven't announced the other 2. But they announced in the game there's 6 Brainiacs. Now, they could do this. Game's done, right? After Season 4, they're done. And then all of a sudden, they just released the other 4 Brainiacs. They're like, fuck it. We're not supporting anymore. And they just put the last 4 in. You just drop them all at once. Yeah, I'm okay when games are ready. Bring them out when they're ready. Make a game, sell a game. Make content, sell the content. Don't give me a game that's out and 18 months later it's going to be finished. And then you get a reward for best ongoing game. What's up, Jagon? All right, so yesterday we had a story about Peter Moore, about Xbox and how the consoles and what Halo is going to do. Yesterday, you guys told me about Shawn's interview, okay, and Layden, and I'm going to read it today, but I'm going to take my time with this one because it's another long one, right? It's another long one. So I'm probably going to read like a paragraph and kind of give you my thoughts on it and whatnot. We might not even get through the whole article. We might not even get through the whole article. They need to put in some special loot that you can win when you beat Brainiac. Is ridiculous. Yeah, that was one of my criticisms, Roadkill. Like, when I kill Flash, I want a gun to drop. Like, I want something special to drop from the Superman fight and the Batman fight. And I want to go back and do like what I did in Borderlands, right? And again, that's my expectations, and they're missing that thing. Now, if they don't do that, that's fine. But Brainiac, at the end of Brainiac, there needs to be some kind of reward given. Now, in the end game, you do get rewards. You do get rewards, but they're not a specific drop that happens. And in a looter, that's kind of weird. It's kind of weird that the loot doesn't drop from the boss. It drops in a menu system at the end of the boss fight, right? And that's the design choice they picked. And coming from other looters, we're used to that, right? Like Division, you kill someone, boom, the loot drops on the ground. In Destiny, boom, it drops on the ground. Outriders, it drops on the ground. Anthem, it drops on the ground. All these games, it dropped on the ground. In their game, loot drops on the ground when you kill certain enemies, but when you kill the bosses, nothing drops on the ground, at least that I remember, right? So you only get the good rewards at the end in the title screen, which is kind of weird. So they're like going against what they're putting already in their game is different than what they're doing for the boss fights. My biggest fear for Suicide Squad, and this is what's going to happen for at least the next 3 people, okay? The Brainiac fight at the end of the game is the Flash fight. It's lackluster. It is. It's a copy pasta boss fight. It's lackluster. Now we know that Green Lantern's coming in, and we know Superman's coming in. If it's just Brainiac as Superman, it's the same Superman fight, and he comes in as Green Lantern, it's the same Green Lantern fight in the same arena, that's going to be shitty. That's going to be boring as fuck, okay? It's going to get dragged up and down the internet for being stupid and being very copy pasta, okay? But then after, right, Green Lantern, Superman, and then Batman sometime down the road, who are they bringing in? Who are they, right? Like, is it going to be a Two-Face fight, but Brainiac? Is it going to be a Scarecrow fight, but Brainiac? At the same time, though, I don't want it copy pasta. If I have to fight Scarecrow and Two-Face in the game down the road, okay, and those are boss fights, and then Brainiac becomes those characters, and I'm fighting them again, that's very lackluster and boring. I hope that doesn't happen. But it will happen for the returning of Superman and Green Lantern. And if it doesn't, fantastic. copy pasta is good sometimes. Give me an example. Give me an example from a boss fight perspective. There was 5 boss fights, and the 5th boss fight is the same as the first. Also, can you add how long has the game been in development, and is a copy pasta that will suck? Right, Quintar. Right? We know the game's been in development for at least... The last time they made a game was 9 years. The game wasn't in development for 9 years. It was developed for like 7, I think. Then you know they changed something along the way, right? For what it was to what it is. And why couldn't they do some sort of mechanic for the boss fight? Why couldn't Brainiac have his own boss fight? Why was the first boss fight against Brainiac as the Flash and not as Brainiac? I hope it's not. If it's all Brainiac are the same as the Justice League's members, it'd be the worst idea and have 13 Brainiacs. I know. And these first 2 with Green Lantern and Superman, it's gonna be that way. I'm telling you right now, it's gonna be that way. I'll be very shocked if it's not the same Green Lantern fight and the same Superman fight in that same arena where you fought him in his ship or in that arena area. Right? Everything that we did with Superman, it'll be that again, but in his home area. And same with Green Lantern, where he brings in the helicopters and they shoot the stuff. Ending part was cut for live service, is my guess. So you think it was cut and like moved, Titan? Or do you think it was cut completely and they just changed it up? Hopefully that's the last Brainiac fight, that he's not a pure fight at least one time. That would be trash. It's the same 5 times. So listen to what I'm saying, El. You fight Flash, and Flash does his abilities and mechanics that he does as Flash. Then you fight Green Lantern, he does his mechanics. And then you fight Batman, he does his mechanics. And then you fight Superman, he does his mechanics. Now you fight Brainiac, and he does the Flash mechanics. He does the exact same thing as Flash mechanics. Okay? And then Green Lantern comes in based off of Brainiac doing the same thing as Flash did in the fight. I'm assuming, again, I'm just assuming, okay, that Brainiac's going to do the exact same thing as Green Lantern. He's going to do the exact same thing as the Superman fight. He's going to do the exact same thing as a Brainiac fight. So now we've had 9 fights, okay? But technically we've only had 4 fights, right? Because Flash and Brainiac Flash are the same. Green Lantern and Green Lantern Brainiac Green Lantern are the same. Superman and Brainiac Superman are the same. Batman and Brainiac are the same, right? That's not good mechanics. That's lazy. And if that's what happens, I don't care what you have for 13 Brainiacs. Because if I see that Green Lantern and Superman are the same fights I did in the game as DLC, free or not, I'm going to lose a lot of interest in your boss fights that happen with Brainiac. I mean, if he clones them, Mo, there's got to be some other form of a boss fight. He's the big baddie. I don't want to fight Flash again. If I want to fight Flash again, then let me go fight Flash again. Right? And then if it goes forward, let's say you fight Aquaman. Then you fight Brainiac Aquaman. Right? And then there's Hawkman. Then you fight Brainiac Aquaman. Then you fight Martian Manhunter. You're fighting Brainiac Martian Manhunter? That's lazy, man. I don't want to fight Aquaman and then fight Brainiac Aquaman if it's the exact same fight. If you want to put Brainiac and make it completely different mechanics as the Flash, cool. If you want to make Brainiac Superman and completely different, cool. But it's the exact same. It's the exact same. The only different mechanic that you have in the Brainiac fight is when he re-energizes and gets the health from his minions. That's the only difference. That's the different mechanic. He does the same charge up as the Flash, shoots the thing at you as the Flash, runs as fast as the Flash. It's boring. It's a lackluster boss fight in a looter shooter where you're supposed to have cool boss fights. At least in Gotham Knights, okay, think about this. In Gotham Knights, you fought Mr. Freeze once, and then you fought Mr. Freeze again in a completely different form when he's in a mech, right? They had better boss fights at Gotham Knights than they did in Suicide Squad. Right? The first time you fight Harley Quinn is different than the second time you fight Harley Quinn. Lackluster boss fights is pretty standard throughout the whole game, so it's expected. Sure. I think the variants are a way for them to have the boss fights that they had in the story, not make a boss fight gauntlet. Sure, but if that's the case, then let's think about 3 seasons in. 3 seasons in. Okay? Now we have the Flash fight, the Green Lantern fight, the Superman fight, the Batman fight, the Aquaman fight, the Hawkman fight. Okay? So now we have 6 boss fights. So instead of going to the story mode and fighting Flash there, now I'm fighting Brainiac Flash, Brainiac Green Lantern, Brainiac Superman, and no loot's dropping. I get that loot from inside the actual menu system itself. That's a bad setup as well. Like in the standard story, fighting Flash, Superman, Batman, and Green Lantern, and then fighting them again in the end game in Brainiac form. If they just rinse and repeat that, Aquaman and let's just say we fight Scarecrow and Two-Face. Now I'm gonna fight Brainiac and Brainiac's Two-Face and Brainiac's Scarecrow. Same boss fight mechanics. That's lame, dude. Pepsi says I agree with Dirty. I'm just giving an example of how copy pasta. That's tolerable. Elden Ring, some bosses like Dragon tolerable doesn't mean great. There are some repeatable boss fights in Elden Ring, and I agree with that, right? I didn't like those fights. Like the guy in the boat, you fight him a couple times. I don't know the name, right? But at least it's just the same boss. It's not another boss acting like that boss. Fighting Flash the first time was uninteresting, and the second time was just lazy as hell. As our final boss is that the case of Docs, they're also just a reskinned fights. I'm already done. Fights, we already done. Yeah, I'm already checked out. I just won't play the Brainiac Flash fight. Just dull grind. Right, I'll do it once. I'll do it once because it's the content, right? But I'm not engaging with that content over and over again. Right? You have to do it on a lower level, and then you have to do it at a higher level. So technically, you have to fight Brainiac like 2-3 times. But do I want to do that 2-3 times with Green Lantern? 2-3 times with Superman? 2-3 times? Right? And that nothing feels rewarding. I wonder what Brainiac Batman will be. It'd be interesting. Do I have to go around pulling the levers again? Right? And then fight the giant Brainiac? You know what I mean? Like, how are they going to change that? I don't know. You know who did boss fights really well? And I know this is going to sound crazy. But in Marvel Future Revolution, the mobile game that we played on the PC, when you had all those different boss fights and they had different boss mechanics, there was 35, 40 different bosses in that, okay? And each one was different. Each one was different. That was done on a mobile game. And they felt good. Someone needs to open up the Italian-inspired pasta restaurant. Copy pasta. The main Elden Ring bosses are all unique. Sure, but can you imagine, though, all the main bosses in Elden Ring was like, it started off as a new boss, but then he converted into the boss you just fought. And he did that over and over. That would be fucking lazy, right? You would look at that and go, that's goddamn lazy. That's what we're talking about. Like, I'm okay with Flash fight. I'm okay with Green Lantern fight. I'm okay with Superman fight. I'm okay with the Batman fight. They were kind of lackluster, but I'm okay with that fight. But now if I have to do that again in the Brainiac form, that's just fucking lazy. Oh, I got to get out of here at 12:30 again today. My doctor's appointment yesterday. To tell you a brief thing. I went to my doctor's appointment yesterday. I get there, and they tell me, oh, no, it's tomorrow. I went, no. I said, it's today. I said, you texted me, and look at, here it is. And I showed them the text, and they're like, oh. Well, we made a mistake, and it's tomorrow. And I was like, oh, fantastic. Now, I wonder if I can send them a bill. I wonder if I can send them a bill for wasting my time. Elden Ring has over 50 unique bosses. How many bosses are in the game total? I know for a fact, House, that I repeated multiple bosses multiple times in different sections. Is there 80? Or is there 50? I remember there's a lot of bosses. Okay? And I remember they're not all unique. Now, I'm not disagreeing with you with the 50 unique bosses. I'm just asking how many bosses total in the game. I think there was like 8. There's 238. So 50 unique bosses, and there's 238 bosses. So 1/4 is unique. I guess, though, when you put 238 into a game and not 4, do you know what I mean? Like, even if there was just 50 bosses and they all were different, right? There's 238, 50 of them are unique. The rest are repeats. Fantastic. 1/4, right? There's 4 bosses in this, and one of them, I guess that's it. One of 4. No, that's one of 8. That'd be 1 of 8. Yeah, 50 greater than 4, right. But you know what I'm saying? Going through Elden Ring and finding repeats at 1 out of every 10 or whatever. But in this one, in Suicide Squad, you play 4 fights. Your 5th fight is the same as the first. Like, oh. And then the second one that comes in is going to be the same as the second, and then same as the third. Quintar, thank you very much. Becoming a member. Thanks for continuing membership. Appreciate that. Superman isn't much better than the Flash either. It is and it isn't, right? He's got laser. He's got he's got his different powers, right? Like, I'm okay with. How would you have fought Superman? Right? How would you have fought Superman? He's got his super strength where he's taking a tank and he picks it up and chucks it at you. He's got his laser vision. He's got his breath, right? He's got the wind. He's got the cold breath. Flash has got the electricity and he's got the spin and he makes the tornadoes. Sure. If you break it down generically, then yeah, they're the same. But Superman's fight was good. I'm okay with the Superman fight standalone. I just don't want Brainiac's Superman fight to be the exact same as Superman. The Batman fight was the worst. Playing through it the first time, Rose, going through the slow part with all the ambiance and stuff like that, going through, pulling the things, taking out each of the guys, that's cool. Leading up to it, right? It's Batman. But then the Batman fight itself was just unload and hopscotch over a jump rope, basically. You know what I mean? And I was just like, that's bad. They could have done some sort of other mechanic where you shoot him, you hurt him, and all of a sudden he comes down. Right, and there's like a defense mechanism instead of the you hopping. Batman comes in and starts to punch you and stuff. Do you know what I mean? They could have done a lot more. Like, he was just a giant guy you just shot a lot of bullets into. Conflicting info. Another article says 165. Regardless if it's 165 or whatever. Quintar, thank you very much for the 10 gifted memberships.
Thanks for becoming a member.
I gotta make that sound a little louder. For the I wonder if I could do that. Can I make the sound louder inside?
Becoming a member.
We're gonna let those go through. Winter, thank you very much, man, for the continued support. Appreciate that. Realistically, hard to portray Superman in a good way. They've always had the issues with him. Comes to him. I mean, it's cool that we got to fight him. I mean, it really is. I like the idea of the concept. It just stood there. It was easy, rinse and repeat. Yeah, it was so lackluster of when he's a giant thing, right? There's like no mechanics whatsoever. And maybe they're just not good at making boss fights like this.
Thanks for becoming a
you know.
member.
But in a looter shooter, you want to. What do I always say about these superhero games, right? What do we want? What do we want in superhero games? We want to be as many characters as possible, and we want to go up against as many bad guys as possible, right? That's what we want. Two things, right? Let me be as many characters as possible. You make an X-Men game. I want as many X-Men as possible to be an X-Men, right? And I want as many villains to go up against. Okay. Marvel game, DC game. I want to be as many heroes as possible, as many villains as possible to go up against.
Thanks for becoming a member.
That's probably the issue. Is it though, Shadow? Why would that be an issue though?
Thanks for becoming a member.
It's not like they're making this game last for 15, 20 years. You have this giant pool to pull from. Right? If the game only lasted 3-5 years, you could put in as many people as possible. Like, Batman had a lot of villains to fight in his games. I meant when you said that they're bad at boss fights. Oh, okay. Got you. Yeah, maybe they're just not good at boss fights. Like, this is why I like Bungie with Destiny, right? Bungie's got its issues with Destiny. But at least the boss fights felt unique up to a certain point, and then they got it kind of repetitive or whatnot, right? But each one had the mechanics. Like, even the one that we played in Taken King, I forget the guy's name. It was in the Taken King expansion. And you would go into that one room, and then the lights would shut off. And then all of a sudden, he had that lantern, and then all of a sudden it would come on, and you would have to fight him, and you wouldn't know he was behind you, and he would teleport behind you. I forget that fight, but that's a cool mechanic. You know what I mean? Then there's been a lot of other little mechanics for the mini bosses, the big bosses, big raid bosses. They made good boss fights. Then you have this. And you're like, Brainiac is just the Flash. Like, come on, bro. Come on. That's my biggest fear about Suicide Squad Season 1. That we're just going to get the Green Lantern and Superman. Was it the Dark Blade? It was in the ship, wasn't it? The same boss 20 times. New LDC comes out, fight Vandal for 15 times in the new epic battle. That's right. That's what I'm saying, Altern. They should have made at least the first Brainiac fight a Brainiac. And then as the story progresses, right? As the story progresses, then we see it as he's now Flash. Yeah, in the Dreadnought. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Where you're in the ship and you're just running for your life. You're like, he's behind me. You're like, that was some of the best boss fights and experiences that happened in that game. Now, there's another thing, Eclipse, right? They said there's strongholds coming into the game. What type of fights they're going to be? I'm not fighting Flash again, am I? Like, we're going back to the same pail. Oh, did they, Krebsy? They brought him back in Witch Queen and called him the light blade? Oh, they just rinse and repeat? Oh, man. Yeah, that's lazy. Did he have the same exact mechanics? I love the people that when the Taken came into Destiny, people defended. They're like, "Oh, this is so good." I'm like, it's literally the same characters you fought, but with no texture. No, it's completely different. Is he completely different? It was a bit different. All right, well that's good. I didn't play it, so instead of moving right, he moved left. Instead of having a lantern, he had a torch. Look at Papa says, Bungie spends so much time playing political games on Twitter. Their game they don't have time to make new bosses. Did I get the second book yet? I haven't played the game in 2 weeks, Mo. I haven't even turned it on in 2 weeks. I'm basically just waiting for Joker. All right, let's get to this. Let's get to this story here. So people wanted me to talk about this a little bit for his response to. We had the Xbox CEO talk about gaming future. Now we have the PlayStation boss talking about the future, and people said it was about the same. So, oh, you're talking about the comic book. Yeah, I got it. I haven't read it yet, though. I haven't read it yet. Instead of being in the dark room, you're in a room glowing. Instead of him chasing you, he sits in the middle until damage phase. Okay. How do we change this boss fight up? Well, we were in the dark last time, so what about if we make it bright? Genius! Ted, promotion. You get $1 million now, and you get an espresso machine. Oh, shit. Sony just came in. They took the espresso machine. Sorry. You're fired. Yeah, it comes out in the beginning of the first week of each month, I believe. The 5th, I think it came out. There's conflict info on this topic also, but we'll cover it when we get to it. All right. So I'm just going to read, and I'm probably not going to read the whole fucking thing because this is a long article, right? So I'm actually going to maybe we'll go through a little bit for questions, right? So let's see what he has to say here. We'll start off at the front. So, how former PlayStation boss views gaming, terminless times. Okay. So Shawn used to run Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios in the position that he gave him unique insight into the whole industry and the AAA games. Layden also now advertised for companies like Tencent Games, Streamline Media Group, and ReadyGG. His consulting roles help him steer modern gaming companies as it navigates to become a very difficult business with 10,500 layoffs in 2023 and 8,000 already this year. Okay, he says, for me, Layden is much more accessible than Jim Ryan. So the current PlayStation chief who is retiring, rather than talk with us, Ryan spoke to more mainstream publications, also in the Washington Post or Wire, but appreciate Layden's willingness to engage intellectual discourse. Okay. So it says, for the sake of brevity, Yeah, it's long. I edited out parts of the conversation where Layden also talks about the support of ReadyGG as the Web3 gaming company. With this part of the story, his remaining interview starts with the topic of the Wheel of Time and the AI, and we move on to the topic of blockchain games, right? So we're not going to read the blockchain stuff, okay? So the question here, it says, I wrote a story with AI and the Wheel of Time recently, and they had an interesting notion that we're going to generative AI, and all we're going to be putting into the Wheel of Time. This is a 14 books, 4 million words, and then also go to ask anything about the Wheel of Time and get a quick answer. This has nothing to do, let's see, generative AI. The AI might not help with the create what is time. Okay, so this is his answer to generative AI. Let's take an old world problem. Let's go back 10, 15 years. Remember when we used games were such a hot topic, button topic. In Japan, platforms were fighting in court to stop the sale of used games because it had different laws around it. In America, it was pretty much a lost cause. If you can sell a used book, a used album, a used car, why can't you sell a used game? The only difference is the book, the album, the car, and the degrade, and the book gets torn. The cars got dented. The digital media ever copies is identical. There's no wear or tear. Sony fought for it and lost. GameStop made a fortune on this used games business. Part of the reason why publishers and developers were so aggravated by this, and it can also resell games 5 times. But the developer or publisher only gets something from the original sale. Hence why they went all to the digital. Okay, so technically, you could blame GameStop for not only screwing us over for giving us so cheap on our games, okay, but you could also blame them for everything going digital, for the market going digital, because they didn't want to. You know what? I don't like this. There we go. Much better on the eyes. You could also blame them for making everything go digital because they wanted to make the more money. Okay. We're not going to talk about the blockchain stuff. Okay. GamesBeat says they get their cut. Okay. Lyndon says every time it gets resold, if you can make it real, the publisher takes the edge off. He says we can live with that in the world, but to buy the bronze armor or a certain amount of money, and the game developer gets percentages because it works in their game. We created a second economy. It creates accelerating revenue streams, the original developers and publishers, and I don't know how that's a bad thing. Okay, so this is him saying, look, we wanted to make more money, and the reason there's live service games, the reason there's microtransactions in these games is because GameStop bad. People buying used games bad. We want you to buy new games. We want to keep that inside the echo chamber here. We want you to buy more cosmetics. Games are getting more expensive. These guys are taking our money. We can't sell it a second, third, fourth time. So now we have to sell you microtransactions on the side, right? He says initially instance, the transaction will have to occur within the platform architecture in the store game or on the platform. If you go there and load up your helmet, I buy that. It sits on the platform. So yes, you don't get 100 cents on the dollar. You get whatever it is, 80, 90. A slice goes to your wallet enabler. A slice goes to the platform. It hosts the transaction and the number of months that you have at the through. Okay. Over time, maybe it shifts the burden where the platform has not as important as the whole idea platforms are going to change now. The platforms, aside from Nintendo World, which all accept its own kind of subset living independently, which is the 2 big AMD-based platforms. Let's say technology is becoming virtual, where you could also have difference between what Xbox and what PlayStation. Pretty much only dogs can hear it in the time of idea of battling platforms become one thing. So GameBeat says, with blockchain games, it seems like there's a bit of trade-off now. Okay, Lyndon says, everything changes when there's time when you go transcontinental. You had to talk to the Union Pacific Railroad. You had to take their rails. The railroads had the monopoly on going east to west. And then they didn't. When there were cars and planes, gatekeepers, the stage is known. They always happen. It's also many different areas, but will to make changes to create new avenues to establish new marketplaces. The big players will never do it because it's always against their interest. This is why I love startups. Okay? He says there was a time when we all thought that AOL and the rest of our lives, and it didn't happen either, right? Technology changes. Things change. GamesBeat says, in the market stalls, maybe it's like iOS or Android could look at this in the ways it keeps the market going. Welcoming new technology to the platforms, learning to live with them and their market also slow down, there might be attractive. Layden then says, you have to decide at what point do you murder your darlings? At what point does having a chokehold on everything that comes across your platform, is it been lucrative marketplace for you? But consumer minds are changing. Consumers aren't buying new mobile phones every 9 months or whatever it used to be. They're settling in. They're having difficulty making these quantum leaps in cell phone capabilities, and they're plateauing. My thinking for mobile phones, I wish they go back to concentrating on telephones. Okay, my call reception still sucks, but it's a better camera. Ugh, ain't that the truth? What he's saying here, though, okay, is that if you realize you don't really even buy your phone anymore, right? A lot of people don't buy their phones outright. They pay monthly payments, right? Because you can't afford another $1,200 phone every 9 months, but you can afford a $20 payment, $30 payment. They subsidize it. It's a lost cause, right? It's a lost cost to them, the cell phone companies, because they know they're going to make your money back. Hence why there's an Apple store. Hence why there's Google, Android, where they all have their stores. So the 30 cents here, 30 cents there, dollar here, dollar there. They're making their money back on it. Linden says, we won't be able to think to continue to having a stronghold or stranglehold, and they have to accept the future where people will build things of their own. There's also coming from a place of Android allows side loading. iOS kind of does this, and maybe in Europe, but it's also going to have more accepting and the nature in the beast. It can't keep strangleholding the marketplace forever. Game Beats then asks, will you hear similar things coming from the console guys? Phil Spencer talked about the decision that they made to take some games to Sony's platform to other platforms. One thing he said was, what everyone needs to do in the market is to grow. When the market's not growing, it explains a lot of suffering going on, and it needs to rethink it. Layden also, he says, absolutely. When the cost for your game exceeds $200 million exclusively for your Achilles heel, it reduces your addressable market, particularly when you have the world at a live service gaming for free to play. Another platform is just another way of opening the funnel, getting more people into a free-to-play world. As we know, 95% of those people will never spend a nickel. The business is all about the conversion. You have to improve your odds of cracking up the funnel opening. Helldivers 2 has shown that PlayStation is coming out of PC at the same time. Again, you get the funnel wider, but you get more people in. Right? The single-player games is not the same. He says, but it's also spending $250 million. You want to be able to sell it as many people as possible, even if it is just 10% more. The global installment base for consoles, if you go back to PlayStation 1 and everything else stacked up there, whenever the time you looked at, cumulatively, consoles out there never gets past over 250 million. I've been talking about this for years, okay? It just doesn't. The dollar haven't gone up over the time, but I look at this and say that it's just taking more money from the same people. That happened during the pandemic, which also made a lot of companies overinvest, looking at the numbers going up, and that's just a chance of the rocket, right? So this is what I was talking about, what PlayStation does, right? Everyone says, well, PlayStation is doing better. They're outselling Xbox, but they also have just a finite population. If that's 100 million people, if it's 120 million, 155 million people, whatever it is, it's the same player base every console generation, okay? It goes up a little bit, 10%, great, okay? But they're selling to the same people. They're not getting new people in, hence why they made the PSVR 2 or PSVR 1, then the PSVR 2, then the PS Vita, hence why they make the Portal. They keep selling you stuff to the same people that are already in the ecosystem because they can't sell to the outside. This is why I say it's bad that the PSVR 2, when it came out, I said you can't use it as a regular VR headset, so it's not worth it unless you have a PlayStation 5. So you have to have a PlayStation 5 to invest into the headset, where if you just have the headset, you can play wherever you want, okay? With multiple games in multiple places. With the PlayStation VR, you can only play PlayStation games, and you need a PlayStation 5 to play it. Same with the Portal, right? They're selling to the same people. This is why the echo chamber happens, where people are like, oh, Sony's so great. It's because the same people are buying the same things. Now you look at Microsoft's ability of what they're trying to do. They're not trying to sell hardware because it's too much money for them to put in, and they lose. Most hardware is a loss, is sold at a loss, no matter what company it is, okay? And they make the money off the software. Well, if there's no hardware going out and you can play that software on multiple devices, that's a win. They're being more return on investment for that company. Hence why now Sony is starting to put games and will, again, put their first-party titles, my opinion, on PC day and date, because if I could get 10 million people to get God of War, okay, but now I open it up to another 250 million people or 1 billion people, what percentage, even if that's 10% more, that's 10% more people that's now over 10 million from PC that will now buy the next God of War, will now buy X-Men, or now buy Spider-Man 3 over on PC day and date, instead of waiting a year or two to make that money, okay? He says, we're not doing enough to get the heretofore non-console people into console gaming. We're not going to attract them by more shit that we're doing now. 95% of the world doesn't want to play Call of Duty, Fortnite, or Grand Theft Auto, and the industry just going to make more Call of Duty, Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto. That's not going to get anybody else. Now, GamesBeat says there's also an interesting parallel in free-to-play games. As you say, 95% of the people didn't buy anything, but 5% did. And then you have a smaller percentage of whales that bought everything. And there were people are made that the whole thing is profitable. They made up for the fact that the most of the other folks weren't paying, and they liked those other people where they were. And this is what it is. Like, if you like something, you support it, okay? And the people that don't like it but don't like to spend microtransactions, they look at it and go, I don't want to buy the microtransactions. But the people that are buying those microtransactions, they're making that game for those people, okay? So Lindell says, yeah, it's a bad strategy. That's like saying that you're going to go fishing and you're counting on the hurricane to throw a bunch of fish your way. It could happen, but it's not a good plan. Anyone who comes into the gaming world saying that they're going to be exploiting blockchain or microtransactions to make their game more something, they're coming from a wrong way. You can't build a game base on the core meaning of the game. It can't be leveraging a new monetization technology. From gamers' perspectives, why should I play that game? How is it fun? It's not fun. I don't care. And that I couldn't agree more. Okay, if the game is not fun, then it doesn't matter. Okay, and if it's fun for a small period of time, but then you bring us into a fun game, but then you fuck it up because you change the fundamentals of that game, then I'm out as well, okay? There's the thing where certain games are fun, like Suicide Squads is fun. People are having fun with Skull and Bones, but is the core gameplay there, or is the gameplay there to push you towards the microtransaction store? Now, I don't play Skull and Bones, so I can't tell you. Those of you that are playing Skull and Bones, let me know. Is it in your face that you have to buy stuff in that store to upgrade, to make stuff better? Suicide Squad, we don't really know yet. Okay, there's no FOMO in that game, and they haven't put a battle pass in, so we really don't know about that. Layden continues and says, what I like about people who make games who are thinking, how does this smart contract technology unify ledger transparent of the transaction augmented of my game, make my game broader or bigger or more, particularly for more players, okay? In the beginning is this game, if the game is no good, I don't care, NFTs telling you to ruining against it. What kind of crypto applications you have, whether it sits on a blockchain or block latency or whatever it's called. The game's not compelling, then I don't care. He continues by saying, like what I do for ReadyGG guys are doing, because they're talking about how they force feed new mechanics into a gaming world, but how the game can come across as the abilities we set forward. The ability to see, the ability to trace, the ability to verify, augment the game experience. Let's have a conversation. GameBeat then goes on for another question, and they say there has another argument that timing matters. 3 years of all the blockchain games got started. They're all a lot of funding in 2 years ago. That's maybe a bad time to say, but I believe in blockchain that there's also 5 years, and maybe it makes more sense now that a lot of chaff has blown away. The folks who are still there, making good stuff, getting closer to the ship, maybe now is worth believing. Layden says, 3 to 5 years ago when the conversation was kicking around, it was to wrap up the crypto conversation. It was too dependent on the NFT explosion. Crypto NFTs more visible to the user. Here's a Bored Ape. Broad Apple, Jesus. Here's a Bored Ape. The Ethereum wallet blockchain is an enabling structure which also lets you really understand the shares because it enables the crypto thing, and that's how it works. He then continues to say, that's all blown through. I think a lot of the NFT craze is gone now. Crypto is where it is. But looking for enabled technology, there were also get-rich quick schemes 3 to 5 years ago. But these are underlying technologies have greater purposes. Are they solving problems? Question, I look ReadyGG and say, can you solve a problem by using digital games? Can you create a marketplace where everyone is added to the value of the game, largely in developer and publish? Can it recap rewards through reselling the IP? Let me see what this actually, Counting the Nightmare is saying at some points. No, we don't read that. Do you think there's more good games or logical should arrive this week in mobile versions of God's Unchained debut in early access after 4 years of development, or Monopoly Go? The big hit last year took 6 years to make. Wildcard Alliance in many years is making. Space Nation Online is getting towards 6 years. These blockchain games are a long way from making. Out of those ones will convince people to play the real thing. Layden says, maybe again it's simple, but do you have a game that's compelling to the people that want to play, regardless of what the mechanic is or what the story is? Right. If Monopoly Go's a addictive game, it gets people to play, then Is it a good game or a bad game? It doesn't matter. Is it fun to play? Why do people come back and play it? Is there a way can you participate in further relationship with that? Back in the day, Little Big Planet, people were making stuff all the time for that. If there was a marketplace where I could sell levels that I made for other people, could play them. I get 90 cents on the dollar, while the platform and publisher each get 5 cents. I'd be a vibrant cottage industry. Right. Hence what Minecraft does, when people make content for that. Fallout 76 for Bethesda inside their stores, and other stores do the same thing, where creators make that stuff, even Fortnite, and they get paid for that, right? GameBeat says, it could still be going like Second Life is today. Layden says, the problem with Second Life is there's no game there. It's just a society. And I agree with that. It's basically a meta. It's a meta format where Facebook and Epic are all trying to get to. Second Life has been there for 20 years. Okay? He says, but creators are still there and still actively making money. Layden says, right, it's its own niche, but I think greater games are out there. There could benefit. There's also get that thing where the community is built and adds on modding community. There's also a way modders can take some reward for that labor. But for publishers, you kind of lean back and say, hey, you guys keep the IP alive, keep adding it to the building it out, and that's fine. Publishers get tribute every time the transaction occurs. So they're good if they run into the stories and tell the world, but the gamers are building its own. Good place to be. GameBeat says, it's also maybe convince developers, hey, the fans take this over and over again. You can go make that the game that you want to do next. Lyndon then says, do the next one. Over here is basically a sandbox. I love those characters. I love that world, but I wish they could do it and play hide and seek in that world. I build that mod. Let's do it. Let's do that. Why not? Let me see what else he has here. We got the subjective. Any other questions? It seems like there's at least a big guy in the boat where you have to hire them. No. Okay, there. Okay, this one's about AI. It's maybe made people more suspicious about AI. Is AI causing this? It doesn't seem like it's ready yet, though. Layden says AI is convenient throwaway line. I think it's nothing to do with what's happening at all. Maybe around the margins, around places where private equity is getting skittish of VCs, virtual capitalism, or virtual want to go back because they don't know about the AI component. But deep down, the companies that have to be building the stuff for decades, they've experienced layoffs. It's not about the AI thing. It's just we took a lot of capacity because those that were going to build these things, the population, it was stuck there in the living rooms. And then the growth curve dropped when the world came back. Look at live service games. I can't imagine gaming industry where you have 20 live service games, all of them incredibly successful, and it's just not enough energy around that. Maybe back in the day when we played Ultima or EverQuest game, everyone left Ultima to go play EverQuest. Everyone left EverQuest to go play World of Warcraft. It's difficult for multiple titles to service for present world category for success. This is exactly what I'm saying. This is what exactly I've been talking about for years, months, podcasts, right? Everyone's like, a game is dead, right? Those were live service games back in the day, okay? And they went from Ultima to EverQuest to World of Warcraft to the next game, over and over. Back then, there was less games. Now there's an abundance of games. There's thousands and thousands of games coming on Steam every single day. There's hundreds of games coming on the consoles every single day, okay? So it's a much more competitive market for game developers and for your time. We all have 24 hours in the day. All have 24 hours in the day, all right? So you don't have the amount of time that you had back then, especially when you're younger. When you're a teenager, you have a lot more non-responsibilities, right? For the majority of you, okay? But when you're older, you have responsibilities. Life kicks you in the nuts, all right? Or punches you in the face, whatever you want to call, right? And you have less time to play a game. So now when you're an older gamer, you have different requirements for a video game. You want a game to respect your time. When you're a kid, you don't give a shit about respecting your time. You're like, I'm going to sit here for 8 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours and play that and no life that game, okay? So he says, GameBeat says, I don't know whether or not it's becoming overly optimistic, but I feel like the need to remind people that it's not going to be complete disaster. Things are going to get better after we hit bottom. For a lot of people, they seem to think that this is bottomless, and there's going to be forever. But every week I write for companies raising money, okay? And the people are tracking 2,000 companies now that they have job openings. I think it thinks the hiring is going to be exceeded layoffs by September. Well, look, it's got to go down, and it's got to hit the low point of wherever it's going to hit before it comes back up. I'm not even going to read his response to it, all right? And then once it starts to go back up, it'll plateau again at a certain time, and then So more companies are created, more people get jobs, but then they have to. There's more companies, but less people working for those companies. Okay, and then more jobs open up based on what the AI is coming in. Well, now you need an AI technician, right? Like there's people that literally are professionals that just write code for making pictures for the AI generated images. These are actual jobs now, right? Didn't exist before. People were drawers and artists, and now there's people that type that are artists that make stuff. Didn't exist years ago, and now it does. Okay. Let me see what else we got here. Anything else? Okay. I remember people saying that many years ago that the games business is better than movies because you could make games for $10 million and get $100 million back. And at the same time, Hollywood's making movies at $90 million, getting $100 million back. Now games have caught up. Right. Profit sharing ain't what it used to be. What do you see the solution for driving for? He says, I'm an old man. I have my own nostalgia, but look back at the PlayStation 2 era where there was much variety. You had God of War and Assassin's Creed, but you also had Loco Roco. You also had SingStar and Dance Dance Revolution. You had the entire spectrum of entertainment opportunities at 7 to 12 million a throw. Why not make a bet and see what happens? Okay, for Christ's sake, he says I couldn't get the built today because you can't even explain what it is. Okay. Oh, calamari thing. Yeah. Bet the triple-digit millions. Risk tolerance is super low. You end up with copycats and sequels and not much more. And that's what you see. One takes off. You better believe right now Helldivers is the latest, greatest, hottest thing. You're gonna see copycats within the next year, if not 2 years. And you're gonna have multiple games with big IP franchises. Okay? You're gonna have your Star Wars game like Helldivers. You're gonna have your Halo games like Helldivers. You're gonna have new IPs like Helldivers. If it's not just a game mode in a game that already exists, it will be a standalone game to compete with Helldivers. That's what's gonna happen. Okay. So that's all we're gonna read here. I think we get it. Actually, there's one here. He talks about originals. Should they be funding original IPs? This is a good one. This is absolutely. This is why you come in early. You get better back end. But that say, rather than come in and late and get smarter back end with more predictability, he says, then you have a private equity. Now you have longer VCs. Some of the VCs are telling me that they're getting pressure from the LPs. We gave a bunch of money in January and November now, and you have to invest it. They're looking for opportunities. They also could have just to put the money into T-bills. Okay, there's a pressure coming from the LP community that also want the money to put to work. They're paying fees, but the money isn't going to work. Okay, so lots of stuff behind the scenes happening here where they're not putting the money in the right places. Hence why Spider-Man is just an example. If it does get canceled, they threw that money somewhere, and then all of a sudden they're failing with it. They're not coming through. Same with EA with Star Wars games, right? They make a bunch of games and they cancel those games. Okay, they're taking the money, they're raising the money, they're using the money, but they're not using it in the right places. Okay. Let's see here. Sarge says, why don't you make 3 or 4 games and cost $20 to $50 million? And once you make the a good run, then go for AAA games and cost money. But they don't. They chase them and then they cry. Yeah. It underperformed. Let me see what you guys are saying back here a little bit. Let's go on water. Loyalty goddamn plastic box with the metal one. You mean to tell me $2 billion Bored Ape is worthless? Not worthless for the person that bought it for $2 billion. I mean, obviously, he doesn't care about $2 billion. Let me see what else you're saying. Cost $50. It's worth $300 today. Man, I remember EverQuest Online Adventures. That game was fun. I have Ultima, EverQuest, Star Wars, and then World of Warcraft. I never got hooked to another online multiplayer game like MMO after World of Warcraft. I've played here and there, like Elden Scrolls, but I never got like involved into an MMO like I did back in the day. We're gonna see Power World clones. You're gonna see a lot of. I don't know if you're gonna see Power World clones as far as like collecting animals and stuff like that, but you're definitely going to see a lot more survival games. We've already seen it, right? This year alone, we've gotten, what? Nightingale, Enshrouded, Pal World. We're getting Dune Awakening. We have four survival games. You got Lego Fortnite that came out, right? That's another survival game. You got Light No Fire. That's another survival game, I think, right? Lots and lots of survival games coming out, right? These were all in the pipeline because it was popular then. Now it looks like it's more popular now. Helldivers is going to be that new thing. Ron Slusher says Vampire Survivor only cost around $1,500 to make. $1,500? No. Is that true? I'll look that up. Is that true? $1,500? Or are you saying 1.5 mil? $1,500. Really? I gotta look that up. Development, let's see. Not that I don't believe you. I mean, I'm just shocked. Italian developer Luca, 2020, using the Phaser framework, which also he was unemployed. He wanted to create Vampire Survivor because he wanted to manage a community based on his past experience being an admin in Ultimate Online server. The game was inspired by Magic Survival, a mobile game that also consisted of a character automatically attacking enemies. Development of the initial early access version took around a year, spending around 1,100 was that pounds on assets, art, and music. Prior to developing Vampire Survivor, he'd been development in gambling industry and usually acknowledged how he used the flash graphics for more slot machines as part of the allure of Vampire Survivor's chest opening animation. Okay. That's it says for the early access version he spent 1,100. I wonder if that's what he spent completely. Expectations allowed him to quit his job in February to focus on completely developing the game. It doesn't really say. That just says early. That's not the total budget. That's not the entire budget. Very successful. I'm not taking anything away from that. Right? But I wonder what the actual... I don't know if we'll ever find the actual budget. It's got to be more than that. He would spend $1,100 more just filing, like copyrights and shit. Right. That's what I'm saying. See, there's got to be more... Vampire Survivor roguelike shoot 'em up took indie world by storm in 2020, only costing around $1,500 to make. It made $7 million in the first month. There's gotta be more to that. There's no way it just took $1,500. It took him a year. Think about this for a second. $1,500. It took him a year to do it. Did he do nothing else for a year? Right? Developer cost $1,500, but might not include trademarks and advertising. Well, then that's not what it cost. You see what I'm saying, Ron? That's very, very generic. I'm not saying it's not possible, but if it took him a year to make, time is worth something, right? Let's just put this in perspective for a second. Let me put this in perspective for a second. Okay, 365 days a year. Okay, let's say you worked 8 hours a day. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, 8 hours a day times 365. That's 2,920 hours. Okay? So he paid himself a penny. He paid himself almost 2 cents. You know what I mean? 20 days a month? Well, Z, have you ever been... When I worked on my board game, I worked every single day. I put a lot of hours in when I was working on my board game. Every single day for multiple hours. Well over 8. Well over 10. Stop being ridiculous. He had another job. I'm not talking about what he made, Sarge. I'm talking about what it cost to make the actual fucking video game. $1,500. Like, electricity for the fucking year would cost more than that for him to make that game on his computer. I'm saying it's a little absurd. I mean, it sounds great. On a title, $1,500 game makes $7 million. It didn't cost $1,500. No fucking way. Unless he stole the computer that it was on and then plugged it into someone else's outlet to charge that computer. Those costs don't factor in because the costs come out of his normal budget. Sarge, I'm not even gonna get into this conversation. I'm saying that no way in hell that it costs $1,500 to make a game. I don't care if it's 8-bit, whatever. Okay, it costs way more than $1,500 to make a game. Fantastic that he made $7 million from it, but there's something missing in that equation. No fucking way it was $1,500. Well, it's not slavery because he made it by himself. Yeah, but there's time invested in there, Eclipse. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not saying it's not impressive. I mean, it could have cost $15,000. I would have been like, wow, that's fucking amazing. $1,500's a little insane. If he's making it on a free time for fun, then the time is free, but you need publishing costs, engine costs. You hope to make money on time spent selling a game, not salary or hour. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, but that's... Sure, $1,500 on assets, great. Okay, great. I'm gonna go make a game now with Unreal Engine 5, right? And I'm just gonna use free assets, and I'm gonna be like, I made it for free. The entire thing's free. I'm not gonna include my time in making the actual thing. I'm not gonna include my actual any kind of expenses or costs. I'm just gonna say I made the game for free. It doesn't work that way. There's costs involved in making something. Everything is included. I spent $1,500 for this a year. Okay? Like, come on. I get it. It's cheap. But $1,500, that's wild. That's wild. There's no official thing. It's a literally Wikipedia that says what it cost. And I have a question. I have a question now. What the fuck is EA and all these other companies doing if this one-man guy can make a game for $1,500, okay, and make $7 million? Hey, what are they doing? If I have 100 people working at my company right now, everyone stop doing what you're doing. I need you to work on games like Vampire Survivor and make sure you spend less than $1,500. And if $1,500 can make $10,000, that's a hell of a return on investment. Like, how much does it cost to make an indie game? Estimates are overall making an indie game vary widely, okay? Somewhere between $50,000 and $750,000, while others suggest costs actually run into the millions, okay? Don't let those numbers scare you off, though. We were told that developers are all auto-battling roguelikes less than $250. GameStats.com has now estimated games' lifetime revenue of $160,000. Someone made a game for $250. It made $160,000. Okay. Vampire Survivors, the roguelike shoot 'em up, took the indie world by storm. It says it only cost around $1,500 to make and made $7 million in the first month after leaving early access. I mean, fantastic. So what is everyone doing right now? $250. That's an afternoon of work. Made $160,000. This game right here cost $250. I'm not okay with it. I'm not okay with it, Sarge. These people that they're saying that it's $250 or $1,500 are not putting any kind of time or any type of value to time. They're just saying I spent $250. My argument is they're not putting their cost in correctly. Are we going to see more Day Before than Vampire Survivor? I think we're going to see a lot of games. I talked about the Unreal Engine. There's going to be a lot of people that make games like The Day Before that make other games look bad. And what I mean by that is there's people working on games that make good games, right? And then there's going to be people that don't know how to make games, use the Unreal Engine to make shitty games, right? Asmongold had a conversation or had a video about this a couple days ago about Unreal Engine. How more broader people can make games, but doesn't mean they should. If you're making a game in your spare time, your normal job covers most of the costs. Correct, but if I'm going to my work for 8 hours a day and I take $1,000 and then put it towards the other thing, I'm not like not counting that $1,000, Sarge, because you know what I mean. There's costs that go into it. It's not just nickel and dime like what you want to count and not count. How about a Vampire Survivor boat with Kratos from God of War? That sounds great. Seriously though, $250. I gotta start doing game development. If I can make a game, I got ideas for games. Right? I'm gonna get onto that. In my spare time. It might take me 100 hours to learn game development, and I might have to read books and buy books and all that stuff, but none of that'll count towards the actual what it costs to make the game. Because my time's worth nothing. My time is worth nothing, so. Yeah, you know what? Right now I'm just gonna go to a thing, to ChatGPT and have it write the code for me. See what it comes up with. I'll turn 30. We want to introduce you to the Unreal Engine 5 times ChatGPT initiative to create a fabulous game. I wonder how much Brotato cost. Let's see. Since you brought it up. It doesn't say how much it cost, but it says how much money did Brotato make? It estimated that Brotato made $11.1 million in gross revenue since it released. Out of this, the developer had an estimated net revenue of $3.3 million. I'm trying to see if it says. Yeah, a lot of them don't share what it cost. I'm gonna have someone make a game for me on Fiverr. That way it didn't cost me anything, right? Because someone else made the game that I asked them to make me. I mean, get on it, Ultern. Only in your free time, though. Only in your free time. Yeah, but Krebsy, there's other costs involved. It's not just the assets that he paid for. There's other, regardless even of time. There's other time included in that. Like, his accountant would be like, "All right, so what did you spend on this? What did you do? Did you write off anything? Did you do anything?" No, everything was free. It's just $1,500 in this asset. That's it. Be like, that's not how it works. impressive though, either way. And you know what? The $250 one's even more impressive. We got to get down to like $1, the $1 game. I wonder how that would work. Let me see something here. That's insane. I will take my spare time and learn to code and make a game for less than $250. Okay, let's see. Complete a game, various mechanics, provide simple versions. Okay, here's a basic example of how you could start to work. Okay. Environment where you can move a player character using the arrow keys. Player character represented in the red obstacle. Okay. How do I got code written. Okay, I just asked ChatGPT to make me a code. Okay. Now, I want to use this. What format could I put it in to use this? Where would I put this to see it on the screen? How do I open up a could be a doc? It made it in it says a combination of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Use Notepad? Okay. Yeah, but now when I put it in Notepad, you can use Notepad. AI also will make a platformer, each little angry Italian man who goes, wahoo! Yeah, to run it. Depends on what code. I just want to see within 3 seconds if it can make a game. That's all I'm looking at. I just want to look at an example. Okay, right now I have it in this, just a Notepad. But how do I... Okay, it wrote a simple code about moving a character on the screen. Well, no, I asked it to put it in so it could work in a web browser. So I don't know if this would... Wow, I want to see Z. This is what we're doing. Save it as a game.html. Okay, file. Now, where the fuck did it save that? Yeah, look, okay. So this is what it came up with. Very simplistic. Okay? Very simplistic. It gave me where I can basically move my keys, and it made a very thing. Now, obviously, if I can create something like, this could be like a risk game. It could be a game of chess or whatever, where I'm moving stuff. Very simplistic. All I asked was, make a game where I can move a character on the screen. And that's what it did. Within 3 seconds. Okay? So now if I start asking it questions to do certain things, I could do a lot more stuff with this. Okay? I'm sure I can make a game. I'm sure I can make a game. Right? Literally, all I asked it was... This is what I typed. I need you to make a code for a game like Vampire Survival that I can play in a web browser. That's all it did, right? It says creating a game like Vampire Survival web browser would require a combination of these things, okay? And it says various mechanics will provide simple. So I have to put the more of the code inside there, okay? What program is this? All I did was put it in a notepad, save it as a game HTML file, and then I opened it up as a save file, and then it opened it up inside that window in the browser. Right? Z, I know you're ragging on me, but my point is that if someone can create, listen, if somebody can make this with a bunch of code, okay, the music just stopped because I right, if someone can type in words and the AI can make this, okay, why can't someone just type in code and make a game? Now, obviously, gaming is very fucking hard. So is video making, but now there's a program, you type in some words, and now it makes a video, okay? So it's not too far-fetched that now that everyone, if you're good at typing and know the actual code, because obviously the artist is still knowing what the fuck they're doing. I know nothing, okay? Right? I didn't even do anything. I just asked a question in ChatGPT. It gave me a code, and then it inserted a code, and it made a box move on a board, okay? Very simplistic. All I'm saying is, it's not plausible that someone could create something from this. Okay? That's all I'm saying. I mean, look at this. This is art made by words, not by someone painting anything on the screen. Save you a lot of time and money. Yeah, apparently it'll save you millions of dollars. You can make a game for $1,500. Now, obviously, I'm not saying this is what he did, but I'm going to experiment. I'm going to experiment, and then I'm going to see what I can come up with, right? And then I'll share my experience with you guys as I write zero code, right? I write zero code. I'm just going to ask questions to get the code for the thing, and then I'm going to make that into an actual browser and see what we can come up with. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. And on that note, we're going to be done for the evening, this afternoon. We'll be back tonight for 8 p.m. Eastern. I think we might play some Helldivers tonight. So if anybody wants to play Helldivers, let me know. We'll be back tonight, 8 p.m. for Helldivers. And then we'll be back tomorrow morning for some more gaming news. Don't forget, we also do podcasts on this channel. We do podcasts Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern for Generation X Gaming. Appreciate it very much. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.